Om Hari Om Hari Om Hello, my friends. I'm again in the same place as last week, although I'm looking in the other direction because the wind is different, so I'm having Arunachala right in front of me. But we can see beyond the trees, the little peak. But from that, there is a chainsaw active quite nearby. I hope it doesn't disturb too much. But the sound is not too loud. From far, I can also hear the machines busy in the house where we usually stay, but this won't be a problem for the recording. We are all one. We are all that same divine essence. In that all oneness, there is the multiplicity. It's you and me. It's world, solar system, galaxies, universes. In this world, we have such an incredible multiplicity of expressions, and yet it's all that one essence that is manifesting. We are here to become aware of it. We are here to have the opportunity not to get hooked so much in that expression that we call I, and become aware of the source of that I, of the real I. What Ramana Maharshi calls the I. On the relative level, we may face so many problems. Everybody has their tale to tell. Everybody has gone through so many things that were not necessarily easy. And all along, in reality, we are that one essence. It's amazing when we identify with the expression how different everything is. That doesn't mean a tree doesn't look like a tree when you are aware of everything being an expression. The tree is a tree, the bird is a bird, the sky and the clouds, the mountain in front of me, but nothing is separate. All is that one reality, expressing in so many ways. We just have to remind ourselves again and again. That gives the proper proportions. Then when obstacles come, when life problems come, when we remember, hey, I am not this expression, I am that one essence, then suddenly they are not so difficult to deal with it. That doesn't mean that everything is pleasant after that. On this level, it's pleasant, it's unpleasant. You like it, you don't like it. That will remain. But there is that which makes the experience possible, that is prior to that. We can bring the attention back to that and let go into that, dive into that, get rooted in that and learn to function from that perspective. Then all this is still beautiful. Actually, we can appreciate the beauty much better if we don't carry all the personal tensions with us, but we don't get hooked to it. Like the other guy over there with his chainsaw, is cutting down and cutting down and cutting down beautiful plants. They are more beautiful when they are there. But one need not get worried about such things. Okay, this is what is happening. So that same oneness is expressing itself again in different ways. Now on the relative level, there is the polarity. It's necessary. Without the polarity, there is no manifestation. But the polarity can be in proper proportion, and then things go quite smoothly, nicely, harmoniously. If there is an imbalance, there is a lot of trouble on that level. This is happening right now in this world. But at the same time, the opposite force is getting stronger and stronger. We can be confident about that. Putting things eventually right. That also in this world, externally, there can be more harmony. Still, our job is not to get identified. And actually, the less we are identified, the more we are contributing that the expressions are harmonious. Then we remove at least one source of trouble in this world. Our own mind that is full of problems, that full of contradictions, full of tensions. We may not be able to change the rest of the manifestation, the rest of the world, but we are able, we have the potential to change that one source of problem, a contradictory, painful mind. That much we can do. That is also the best contribution for the all over harmonizing process that will come. Even when there is harmony, the learning process continues. And it goes on and on. Previously, I used to have these ideas, I have to struggle, and then eventually there is that big explosion, and this is the end of the story. This is the absolute. That absolute is also a creation of the mind as an opposite to imperfection. Essentially, we are all one, we are that unchangeable mystery. But the learning process is never stopping. Wherever we are, there is still infinity beyond. Whatever state one is in, there is still infinity beyond. But what can be stopped is that we are creating unnecessary pain and suffering. That need not be. As the Buddha said, life is suffering. But then later he said, it need not be like this. And he gave the way how one can grow out of it. You, in your being, you are not suffering. It's our mind that makes us suffer. As long as there is a body, sometimes there is pain. Sometimes it hurts. Can't be changed. That's the nature of this body. What creates the suffering is our reaction to it. Our total resistance to the fact of experience that creates that mental anguish that I call suffering. And this mental anguish we need not create. We do create it out of habit, growing up in a world where everybody is functioning with the similar mechanisms and is doing it all the time. And so naturally, one joins into the current and does the same thing. But we need not do so. We can learn to be at peace, at ease, consciously connected with our true essence. How we are doing it doesn't matter. The process is simply to turn the attention back to the source, to become aware of that which makes the experience possible. If we turn back right now, instead of being hooked to the sense perception or the thoughts or the emotions, but just aware, and we become aware of that sense of being, that sense of presence, vibrantly alive and beautiful. And this is not touched by whatever is happening. Let us make our home in that, and then express it playfully, joyously, with our day-to-day living. Okay, I stop talking away like this. Asking you, my friends, is there anybody who would like to come in? You are welcome.
Hari Om, Werner.
Hello. Yeah. You can come later, Rita.
Sorry, Rita, I've got to go, and so I like, if possible, now.
You got to go.
Now.
Okay, Maria.
Because I'm flying. I'm going to Spain, and I've got to get all the stuff ready for the airport. And it's related to this.
Running to the airport. Okay, then let us go for it quickly.
Okay, I still have time, but the reality is I'm feeling anxious about it, and I suppose that's why I'm in a kind of rush, because it's about developing. What has happened lately to me is that the fear of flying has come back really strong. I've been traveling to Spain and to other places by plane for more than 20 years. I used to enjoy it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I would ask for a window to see, because it was a very enjoyable experience. But this summer, already before the summer, in one of the trips I had to Spain, I noticed that when there was turbulence, I got very stressed out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this time when I came after 5 weeks of staying in the ashram, I had a terrifying flight. One part of the journey, there was a lot of turbulence. And their hostess told me at the end, I asked her, is this normal? Because, and she said, well, it's the monsoon time, so it was a bad night, she said. And there was a lot of turbulence, and I was terrified. And it's the first time I experienced that so intensely in a flight. And it was like, I felt as if we were inside an eggshell, really, the aircraft felt like a very delicate eggshell, and that we would be plummeting on the sea in any minute.
Yeah.
So the replay was that, constant.
Yeah.
I tried to breathe, I tried to stand, I tried everything I could think of. But, I just went through an enormous amount of suffering in that period, and my thinking was out of control. It was like, in the past, I've always felt, and I feel still, that I will live a very long life. That's my feeling.
Yeah.
But at that moment, it was like, perhaps I got it wrong, And now it's my time, and I've got to go. And the thoughts that were coming up were, I'm not ready. I really don't want to go yet. Please don't take me yet. No, there was all this massive resistance to the possibility of what looked like was going to happen. That it would be crashing. So I'm flying this evening again.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you have any advice?
There's no monsoon in Spain, so maybe it's not so
that's
bad.
it.
I cannot give you any advice that fear is not coming.
Yeah, I know.
Right. If you have the presence of mind when the fear is coming, instead of letting the mind go in all those scenarios where you see yourself plummeting into the sea and stuff, if you can remember, then just turn the attention around and just watch exactly what is going on in your psychophysical manifestation, how that fear is manifesting. And if you forget it and are in the mind, then nothing can be done. But if you have that presence, then already the very fact that you are capable to observe will make the intensity of the emotion less. And you will see how fear is really working physically, how one has the tendency to get all tense up from head to toe. And there you put your attention on your body and just relax as good as you can. Relax your legs, relax your feet, and breathe consciously. If you have the presence of mind to do so, when the fear comes, then the fear comes, is there for a moment and will go again. If we forget and are in the mind and imagine all the terrible things that could happen, then it's a painful experience. But even if for some time that goes on, eventually when the memory comes, then just turn 180 degrees with your attention. Instead of being in the brain and think and think and think, just watch really what that experience means to have fear. And relax in it as good as you can. If you are not resisting against fear, then fear is not such a terrible experience. It's the fear of the fear that makes it worse. And it's already coming now, you are restless. The fear might come back in the flight. But if you go now with the attitude, it may come back, but then I'll treat it in such a way that it cannot overwhelm, then you're losing the fear of the fear. Try not to nourish that fear, that you could experience fear. But already now, when it comes up, also watch what it is doing and relax and breathe. It's easy to say, I know, but actually, it's not difficult to deal with strong emotions if we do it that way. It's simply when we forget and get completely pulled into the emotion, then invariably we start to do all that kind of things in the mind, and then it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
I'm just thinking that is the attention is what is the key, where to place the attention.
Yes, bring the attention back to the actual experience right now. Consciously breathe, feel your body. And then in that awareness of your body, you see all the tensions that have the tendency to install themselves. And then you relax as good as you can. Then the emotion also is not getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It may come for a moment, go, come for a moment and go. So you have some homework to do today in your flight to Spain.
Well, thank you so much, because, you know, in theory, I know, because also you go back to these basics in every satsang, but hearing it from you and receiving it from you makes the difference as well, because it comes with an energy.
And it's good to learn to become aware more and more. It can be applied in any life situation. Even when it appears to be overwhelming, if we have the presence of mind to really turn the attention, to just bring it back to observing the manifestation of the experience. Physically, energetically, relax. And already it's much easier.
Yeah. I have started, I mentioned to you that I have started a breathing practice, very short, 10 minutes with a guided breathing practice last weekend. And I've always struggled with the breath, but there are so many aspects that you can. So I've never been really focused on a breathing practice. It's been more on the physical and the movement. And it's been phenomenal, the experience. I'm really astonished. Those 10 minutes of breathing is breathing through the mouth, in and out through the mouth, which was a surprise for me because I didn't expect that. I mean, that kind of technique, I had never done it.
Yeah.
And I've gone so deep into, I feel the energy field in my body very intensely. And even when my mind goes, you know, into all sorts of scenarios, or starts saying, oh, well, you should be doing different, all sorts of things. Still, I experience beautifully the energy in the body, and I've gone into very deep states of relaxation.
Very good. That's good. And even just to consciously breathe in such a situation will change the whole flavor of it. But when there is fear, one has the tendency to completely forget about breathing. And it's, yeah. And if you have that capacity then to consciously breathe and actually gently breathe and relax and see what's going on, then suddenly the experience stops to be that big.
Great. So, thank you so much.
I wish you well. So we will see you next Saturday, maybe from Spain.
From Spain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Have a good day. Hariom. 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 Rito, if you like to come in, you are welcome. You have to unmute. You are mute.
Yeah.
Ah, there you are.
Hello. Hello, Werner. Hello, everybody. Werner, I have a question about, I do this self-inquiry with like Ramana Maharshi teaches.
Yes.
And when I do that, then my awareness or my observing is like kind of wandering around. So I realize, oh, there's a thought or a bunch of thought, and I try to come back and feel what is in the moment. And in my case, it's more the body, which is in can be very challenging. And so I feel the body, or I feel I feel a sensation or a feeling, or it's kind of always wandering around what I feel or what I observe. And with these very challenging sensations, like I have sometimes in the hip, very painful sensations, I just wonder sometimes whether I should stick with them. Sometimes I try, but and it's always a little bit the idea behind, it's not total surrender, the idea behind, oh, it hopefully it relaxes. And so really staying with something which is really challenging is challenging. Yeah. So, and I wonder whether I should really kind of force me a little bit more to stay with the really challenging things so that they can relax more. As my experience is, it's only tension, the pain, it's not physical really. Yeah. I feel it in the body, but it's only tension, and there's no illness, no.
Right. I would not recommend you that you try to forcibly now go into it, that you in that way think that you can somehow punch through it.
Yeah.
Find a bit the middle path which is okay for you. So don't try to shy away from these unpleasant sensations, but it's not that you have to force yourself to stick with it. And if you do self-inquiry, you can become aware. I mean, it makes itself aware. If there is pain, you become aware of that pain. And then instead of trying to go deeper into the pain itself, you just continue your inquiry. But who is feeling that pain? What is feeling that pain? So you don't push the pain away, you don't push the experience away, but you redirect the attention to that which makes the experience possible. It's like, who is experiencing pain? I am. Who am I? What am I? And like that you come to the essence. There may be still the pain there. Sometimes you may completely forget it, but then sometimes you'll be aware that there is something that is not affected by the pain, that this pain is still experienced.
But when you say who is experiencing, when you ask this question, who is experiencing the pain, does your question go towards, there's these two selves towards the ego self, or does your question go towards the true self, the essence?
It goes to the true self. But sometimes people have a doubt about who am I, that's we are just coming to the person, but the person is a ghost. Your personal awareness is the real awareness. Simply the mistake is that we identify with the limitations of it. But if you are experiencing the awareness here now, don't track your brain. Is this now the ego or is it the self? It's life, it's you. You're touching at least a current of that reality, and you hold on to that current and just come back to the source of it. But if the question who is sometimes rather disturbing, then just ask instead of that what.
What? I didn't understand.
If the question who is disturbing, then ask what instead of who am I. You ask yourself, what am I? Or what is it that is experiencing?
I mean,
then you don't have the doubt whether it's the ego or the self. Yeah.
I mean, when I first came in contact with Advaita, I asked this question, who am I? And I, with the intention towards the truth, I call it true self now, to the essence, true self. And then a friend of me said, no, it's meant like this, that when a thought comes or a feeling or a sensation, that you ask, who am I? And then to whom comes this feeling or this thought or this whatever? And when I ask I, then just to feel this, or to be aware of what is there on thoughts, feeling, sensations, or to be kind of to feel this ego nature. And my impression is this works too, because kind of when I really stay with it, sometimes it's really challenging. I rather would like to run away then it gets smoother, a little bit less tension, the feelings get calmer, sometimes new ideas come. So yeah, I have the impression it works. And my idea is, and I wonder whether this understanding is right. My idea is, when I do this, it kind of what one calls the ego nature, the feelings, the sensations, the thought, they kind of gradually dissolve. And so then I never experienced it totally, but a little bit, then you kind of fall into the true nature or whatever. It's hard to put it in words, but is that understandable, or is that?
Sure, it's understandable what you are saying. And if this works like this for you, then it's perfectly fine. You don't have to handicap yourself with doubts. about it.
Yeah.
You know, here, as it is the place where Ramana has been teaching, so there are all these people here and say, no, self-inquiry goes like this, and the other says, no, you have to do self-inquiry like that, and everyone has an idea what is the true self-inquiry. Everybody finds out for themselves their own flavor, their own little differences, and if it works, then that is true. Then that is the right way to go about it. And then don't handicap it with doubts. Maybe it's not the right way. Maybe I should do it in a different way.
Yeah.
Right. Watching the ego nature, as you said, is perfectly fine, because then you become aware there is nothing solid there. It's a construction. It's a ghost that doesn't really exist, except it's a habit. It's a bad habit. And out of habit, we reconstruct that ghost all the time. And once you look a bit good at it, then somehow it starts to dissolve.
Yeah. I mean, I never had the experience, like they say, or like you said, it doesn't exist, but the experience goes towards this idea that it gets little weaker, a little softer, a little, it's hard to explain.
Yes, and then you can be confident that this is good to do so.
Yeah.
If that works for you, then, and even if now you talk to other people and they say, no, that's not what self-inquiry is about, then you listen to your own experience. To what you feel works to get closer in your experience to that bottomless peace that is there.
Yeah. But thank you for these words with the own flavor. That relaxes something in me.
Nobody does it exactly the same like anybody else. So all those experts who say the clear, proper self-inquiry is like this or like that, don't get, if there comes something out that inspires you and feels right, then it's right. But otherwise, if it's just putting doubts in your mind, then you just let it pass and think, no, have faith in your own experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Because this goes, like, it's like what you always also say, you must find your technique, or like, you never can copy somebody. If I would sit in a cave like you did for years, I think I would get crazy.
Nobody to copy that.
So it's also with the small things we can trust our way.
Right. And once one starts to become more aware, there can be that tendency that one starts to create more doubts, because you become more aware of certain mechanisms that you were not even aware before. And then one can start to doubt. And then if we are nourishing those doubts, they get bigger, and that can drive us nuts. It's good to develop self-confidence, to become more and more self-confident. That has nothing, sometimes when I said this to somebody, they said, but this is of the ego, I'm afraid, self-confidence, then it's again ego. No, we don't have to make an ego trip out of it. Self-confidence means that capacity to let go and let the attention sink to the source, to that sense of presence that is always there, that is never absent, and then function from that level. And the more you can do that, the less all these influences that come and try to make us doubtful about it, the easier it's to deal with them.
Yeah.
We don't have to try to make a wall. Many times a very inspiring, beautiful thought can come from somebody, and then we can thankful and accept it and integrate it in our practice. But we don't have to wreck our brain every time somebody says something. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe they are right. Because there's no end to that.
Yeah, that's right. And one more question, but I think that's not, I think there's maybe not really an answer, is, when I observe these painful sensations, I mean, I never do it with 100% surrender, because it is always a little bit like, hopefully it gets better. So is there a trick how you can surrender more? Or is this also, I don't know, maybe it's just a process, you must just do it, and with time, I don't know.
There is nothing wrong basically with that basic attitude, right? That the pain should slowly go. Our natural state is pain-free. Body sometimes pains, but there's nothing wrong that we basically want to get rid of pain. Simply don't get obsessed by it. So don't think it's a lack of surrender if that attitude is there, that you try something and hope that the pain is going, but if it's not going, then don't let it pull you down into a dark place. But there you can accept, okay, that's what it is, and I have to deal with it. Accepting is not resignation, is not something weak. Accepting is just accepting that right now it's as it is. You still can have your preference in what direction it should develop. Sometimes it works and sometimes it works not. And there comes the surrender. Okay, I gave my input. It didn't work. All right, I can accept that. There is no way of doing 100% surrender. 100% surrender means that the whole thing simply goes and you are free of it. And we cannot do it. We can invite it. You can basically surrender as good as you can. You can connect as good as you can, but that's all we can do, to be conscious, to connect with that which is in harmony, which is at peace, which is pain-free, and be open. And then it has to go its own course. That's the difficulty for the mind, to accept that we cannot really do it, but yet we have to do something about it. We can make ourselves available, and then surrender is happening more and more. It's not that you can really do it, but you can open up in the right direction, and then it's like surrender is more and more happening.
Yeah. Okay, also I can invite it and I can make myself available. That's the words which I can follow. I
can give you a magic trick how to do it.
If you had this magic trick, you would have thousands of followers.
That's the game in this world, that everyone sort of has to go through the story by themselves, We can get help, we can get support, we can get inspiration, but then all the steps have to be done by ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we leave it at that?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come in? You're welcome.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Leora.
Hello, everybody. Okay, so things you said many things I wanted to ask about, but I'll start. You said something about complexity. How do you say this? About that we're all the same essence, but in reality, it's complex. People are different. I can't repeat the word. In the relative world, we are different.
I said there is the oneness, but in that oneness there is the multiplicity.
Multiplicity, yeah.
Yes.
So what I feel actually is that it's not so much multiplicity, it's the illusion of multiplicity, but basically people are somehow the same. We all want the same, we all don't want the same. So I just the thought that I had about it, listening to the whole short talk that you gave at the beginning. It's a bit confusing, but if I really listen to myself with compassion and love and care, and then I listen to the other person like that, then they're not different from me. It's a state. That's what I've been feeling recently. And you also said something about the ultimate, that there's not really the ultimate, it's only reflection, you said?
I said we are creating that notion of an absolute because
absolute, yeah.
We have to have some opposite to the relative.
Yeah.
But that absolute is not so absolutely absolute.
Oh yeah, I heard you saying that before.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult to deal with the complexes of the relative.
Yes. And we can, the mystery of existence, we can simply not put it into a concept like this, not even in a super concept like the absolute. These are still ideas, and what is prior to ideas, is beyond ideas.
Yeah. So this week I've noticed that if I actually interfere with the connections of the brain, when something begins to happen, and then there is right away, there's like a sequence of actions and events and actions and all that, if I can actually follow it right away, then it stops, and then nothing happens, and then I remain where I am. So in a way, it reminds me a little bit of the idea I have about the absolute, that if I don't get involved in the story whatsoever, I remain in this space of quietness and yeah, almost as they said, the difference between equanimity and indifference. So, but I'm not indifferent, but I'm very, very equanimous and relaxed. Is it clear?
Yes, actually you are touching something quite important here. The word indifferent has a negative connotation in our language.
Right.
We think that's something
Right.
bad, but actually it's not. It's simply that we think that indifference means I'm making a wall around myself and don't give a shit what happens to everybody else. And I'm interested only in my own personal well-being. But there are two different types of indifferences that are very, very different, one from another. And that's why we usually use other words, use the word unconcerned. But in a way, the indifference of a drunk is he's just interested to get his drink and his little well-being and doesn't give a damn about everybody else. It's something very small and destructive. But the indifference of a yogi, the indifference of a evolved being is not making a wall. It's simply an awareness that no matter what is happening, it need not pull you out of your well-being. You can see the pain, you can see what's going on, you can see people suffer and still be aware that you are that there is this basic well-being there and nothing needs to pull you out, nor not even when you see close people, how they are suffering. That is the positive indifference. But in order not to bring in that negative connotation, usually I rather use the word to be unconcerned. That doesn't mean one doesn't care. It simply means that there is such a deep awareness that nothing needs to shake you out of that rock solid base of yourself, that no matter what is happening, it's not capable of making you miserable.
So this week, the husband of my sister died. I don't call him my brother-in-law because, never mind, it's very complex. And he was abusive to her. And the last, I think, couple of months, he was taken out of the home to a care center because he was getting very sick, old. And my sister was actually afraid of him. So it was a very, very sad and yeah, I will use the word ugly story and situation. And the whole family, they have she has 4 children who are not his children. She was a widow. And as they say, to cut a long story short, I received a message that he died, and right away there was emotion in me. Okay, what should I do now? What do I do? What should I? It created a little storm, and I spoke to my nephew, and then I spoke to my sister, and then I realized that he said something ugly about somebody else. So I could smell the drama there, and I could also smell the need in me. I can now say that it's an old need to get involved. Maybe I can help, maybe I have to help, maybe I have to be involved. and I don't, all sorts of tendencies, I would say, in such events. And then my other niece called and we spoke a little bit, and then I said, you step out of it. Because there were some things going on, they told me, and I just said, you stay out of it. And it was really, really a clever decision. And I have managed to stay out of it. I don't have words, but also I don't really want even to go in. It's not the place anyway to describe the whole story, but it's an ugly, very ugly story. So it was an event that actually really gave me, as you said before, empowered my self-confidence about doing what I felt was the right thing for me, and maybe, I don't know, for other people. I'm not sure. I don't completely understand what's going on in people's mind in that respect. So I don't know really. But I'm sure, absolutely sure. I just didn't let it disturb me. And for me, it's very, 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 as I said, very unusual, selfish, and all kind of, yeah.
Because your habit was to get always involved and think you have to play a role in a situation like this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a habit since I was a little child. Also on the kibbutz where I grew up, it was like if everybody's like in the life of everybody, and it goes back to
Right. And it's good that you now really start to sincerely follow that which you feel is right. And sometimes exactly not to do the same thing that one has always done is exactly what is needed to do. That we learn that we don't have to function out of the old mechanisms, old conditionings that are put there, but that we can learn to function truly out of your innermost, that you are truly alive and spontaneous and innocent. So, okay, the mind was there, should I not? But then you felt it for yourself. This is the right thing, and then it's good to follow that. You still can energetically, emotionally connect with your sister or with whoever is involved if you feel like, but at the same time, stay centered in the here now. And then you also do give them support without them necessarily knowing it. Our getting externally involved is also often that we're taking ourselves as a person very important, and we get involved, and then after that we expect also the feedback that they are happy about it.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, and it also often creates complications for us and for the other person when the situation is so complicated as it is there. There's nothing I could do in any event, and my sister is very senile, and so and it left me with again more space, empty space, and questions again about relationships and the stories we tell. We tell stories about something so small, and we tend to make big stories out of things. Right. Smaller and bigger, but the tendency is there to make stories, to create, at least for me, there is an emotion, and right away there's a story, past, present, future. It's already a long story.
Yes.
And actually, it's only the present. Really, I've been feeling it so strong. It's only the present. Only
Here,
the present.
now, timelessly,
Yeah.
you're touching
Time,
reality.
absolutely.
All else is in the mind. Even the moment
Yeah.
that you are experienced 1 minute before is a memory. It's not
Right.
alive in any other way, but as a memory. Right now, here, there's so totally a different category. Right now, there is that bubbling touch of life, and all else is in the mind. A memory, an anticipation, fantasies about stories that we could have done and should do in the future.
Yeah.
And if you are in that awareness, and then such a thing happens, and there is that drama going on, this drama of this world, then just connecting with it, you are doing your part. And then if spontaneously you feel right that externally you should do something, then you do it. And if not, then you don't do it, even if you think maybe some people are then not so happy about it.
I didn't even think about the other people in this case, except for my sister and her children, really, and her children, absolutely. So it's great. It's great to be in that and not understanding experience. I don't know what's the word to say, but it's changing and it's great. I'm just happy.
Good, great. Continue like this.
Yeah. Okay.
Shall we leave it with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Hario.
Hario.
Would anybody else like to come in and say something? You're welcome. I can move my table a little as the wind has become less and the light, so we can get a bit closer to the light.
Werner, your picture is frozen.
Oh, my picture is frozen again.
Yeah.
Since long time?
Quite a while.
Oh, yeah. Okay, there I'm moving again. Huh?
Yeah, you're back. Good.
Yeah. Thanks for the I didn't see it because my picture on my screen is very small.
Okay.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in? You're welcome. No matter what the life situations are, it's always that challenge. What we talked now with Leora, what we talked in the beginning with Maria. There are mechanisms that are coming up. If we are not aware, then we are just being swept away by them, and all our actions, they are just sort of repetitions of what has been happening before. Your people that are not conscious, go through their daily life, thinking they're deciding from moment to moment what they are doing, what they are not doing. But most people, they are just sort of automatic pilot. There is that conditioning that has been established in the youth, and if one is not starting to have a good, honest look at it, then the rest of the life, the situations just repeat themselves in slightly different forms. It becomes automatic, not really alive, but half asleep, just programmed actions, programmed reactions. Once we start to consciously bring the attention to the now, we can use a point in time. We can use a body sensation. We can use consciously breathing. We can use the question, who am I? To bring the attention to the now, but then if we relax in that now and don't get hooked on whatever has brought us to this point, then it's like we are stepping out of that current of automatically functioning out of conditioning that is so established that we are simply not aware that it's simply repeating itself over and over. And then we become aware we need not repeat whatever we do. There is every moment the possibility to simply, innocently, spontaneously, alive, deal with the present situation as it comes and let it go as it goes. Of course, we have our skills that we have accumulated, and they are very handy. They are there like in a storeroom, and we can pick them out where they are useful and apply them, and then let the whole story go. Then one really finally starts to live, not being pushed, being lived by all the programming that has been put into the mind. We are growing up and are being bombarded all the time. Be like this, be like that, should do this, don't do that, should not behave like this, should not behave like that, should behave like a good person. There's nothing wrong behaving like a good person. But we have to learn to be really alive and not to simply be pushed by whatever is there in that programming. And then from that programming, we can still have the liberty to pick out what is useful and can apply it in a situation. All that we have learned is not lost, it's there. And often it's very useful, but often it's destructive and we are not even aware of it, how destructive we are and how we are, in a way, tightening the cocoon more and more by repeating the same mechanisms without even checking whether it feels right or wrong, but simply out of the habit, yes, like this, things have to be, they have to be done. We can become again like a little child in spite of having all the knowledge of a grown-up, that is very useful, and we can apply it to live sanely with common sense from moment to moment, but have again that simplicity and the spontaneity of a little child. It's there in everybody. We all had it, we just covered it up. Then life becomes joyous and playful. We can still, in certain moments, deliberate. Is it now right to do this? Is it now right to do that? But with an open heart, then we start to feel where it's going along. Not being pushed by old habits. These old habits push people most of the time, lots of the time, against their better feeling deep down, but one has learned to listen to the habits, to the dogmas, to the indoctrinations that are there, instead of listening to what one feels really. It needs courage to let go, because it gives a sense of security to be in that certain role that is repeating itself, but that security is a false feeling of security. It's binding, it's keeping the consciousness in a little ball, turning round and round and round there. It needs courage to detach from that and just to be here now, alive, intensely alive. And then also to manifest it in your outer life. The situation comes and a clear, spontaneous feeling is there to deal with it in a certain way, but then the old conditioning comes and says, no, that's not possible. That's not how one should behave. It needs courage to break through those barriers, to let them go and be alive truly, honestly, innocently. There I'm going again. I'm asking you, would anybody like to come in, say something? You're welcome. All right. Let's again spend a moment just quiet, meditating. Thoughts will come and go. Maybe the question comes, what should I do now? And we can just be. Consciously be here now. And relax. When thoughts come up, when emotions come up, you can see them. They come, they go. I am prior. This sense of presence, so totally familiar, is so easy to overlook. Out of habit of going with the attention all the time, no direction. If we consciously turn back to that, we become aware. Never has been aware. That sense of presence. Timelessly now. Nothing is ever really disturbing us. We just forget about it. Get involved in all of our very, very important ideas, daily actions. All along, this sense of presence is there and untouched. And wherever we are, whatever is happening, we have the possibility to just relax and come back to that consciousness. Bring the attention back home. You are that. The momentary changes of everything is like a dream. Comes, it changes all the time. That solid sense of presence is always there. I wish you all well. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om.